Take me to your leader. Welcome to the Headbangers at the Hangar podcast. I am your host, Andrew Mercer. As you can hear, I still have kind of a cold. I'm really not sick anymore, but I do have still the kind of nasally sickness kind of voice, or as some people would say, my regular voice. But anyway, I sound like Bob Dylan and John Lennon just had a baby together. What's up, guys? I have to remind you, first of all, that the show is sponsored by none other than Monster Energy and Spotify. We are at the Hilltop Studios in Middletown, New York. Now, I normally do not drink during the podcasts. I learned this a long time ago when I was playing shows. When I was doing anything creatively, artistically that I cared about. You know, back in the day when you're younger, I'm going to be a rock star. You know, I'm going to live that life. I'm going to get hammered. I will play. But then you get older and you realize, you know what? If I want this to be serious, I need to act serious about it, you know. But you know what? It's a special occasion. Tonight is Saturday night. My daughter Gabriella is at her grandmother's house having a nice sleepover. My wife is out with some friends getting hammered. Lucky me. Later. It's Saturday night. I just had an awesome interview with Jimmie Hatcher of Gizmachi. So you know what? I'm going to have one or two. I literally just finished the interview with Jimmie. No more than 20 minutes ago. It was a great interview. I have to give a shout out to my friend Chris DiTullio. Some of you might know him. He was in a band called Talionis way back in the day. They used to play through Poughkeepsie all the time. Some spots at Fishkill. They were a good band, man. Like they were killing it. And he has a bunch of connections from back then. This dude knows everybody because he grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, which if you're into like the metalcore scene, a lot of bands were coming out of there. So he has connections to all those guys, and through Talionis they were playing all the time. He knew Gizmachi, who this is a great interview you guys are going to hear. Gizmachi, they played Ozzfest 2005, and they were signed to Clown of Slipknot's label. So that's their, that's the thing that grabs you when you hear the name Gizmachi. But they're a really awesome band, man. I was really excited to get Jimmie on the show. He did not disappoint. It was a great interview. Thank you again, Jimmie. And also, the last show we did with Glenn, I just want to give a shout out to Glenn Gilson. Thank you again, Glenn. Great interview. Dropped some exclusive stuff about the future of Pink Dreams. But really excited. I want to, no more BS. I just want to play some Gizmachi stuff for you. Then we're going to get right to the interview. So this is the first track off of their real first album. They had another one before this, but even Jimmie would say that it's, they don't consider it their first. Off of the Imbuing, this is The Answer. Here's Jimmie. He's the drummer. He's the drummer of Gizmachi. Listen to that double bass. This same album, I want to play my favorite chorus. This is from the song Blood Wine off of the Imbuing. There's a little bit of intro. Let's see if I can find that chorus. Came for something more. I came for the feeling to have more. That's Blood Wine. So, for those of you who don't know, we're going to get into all this in the interview, but Gizmachi, they put out the Imbuing album in 2005, and then they took a complicated, and folks, when I say complicated, I mean complicated hiatus. These guys just put out their newest album, the next album after that. There was the Imbuing in 2005, and then just this year, their next album, Omega Khalid, came out. 16 years later, and as you'll hear in the interview, there's really no question as to why the music from Imbuing sounds so similar to Omega, because they kind of recorded it around the same time period, but nobody would really know that, you know. But Jimmie broke it all down for us. This is a song off of the new album, Look What I've Become. That chunky guitar. I told Jimmie this in the interview. Gizmachi is a more... Tolerable is not a good word, because that means you don't like it, which I do like Gizmachi. Gizmachi is a more relatable version of Meshuggah, in my opinion. You hear all the crazy time structures, but it's not too much where it makes your head spin. So on vocals for this new album, they have Bjorn from Soilwork. That's what I've become. I'm gonna play two more. This is my favorite Gizmachi song, Wandering Eyes. I'm gonna play you some crazy stuff from this track. These guys, they're like, I guess the only way you could really characterize it with the kind of vocabulary we have is that they're progressive metal, because it's just all over the place, the way they change stuff up. But this is a really good example of that. This one's called Wandering Eyes. I'm going to get the crazy, crazy parts here. So we'll do, for a little context, I'll give you some context and then you'll hear the craziness. Completely different. Solo there. And then same song, we do some more craziness later. Oh yeah, here it is. Hold on, give you some context. Just wait for it, here it comes. Yanking on that string. I'm gonna play one more. This is my favorite track off the new album, Broken Ends. Just a reminder, guys, I want to thank all of you that have been watching and listening to the podcast. I've been checking the numbers out. They're growing every week. Making good progress out here. If you want to be on the... If you want to participate in the show, remember, just send an email to me, HeadbangersAtTheHangar@gmail.com. And as always, Hangar is spelled Hangar. I know a lot of you metalheads out there got the 6th grade education, but HeadbangersAtTheHangar@gmail.com. Send me an email. Tell me you like the show. Tell me you hate the show. You can request topics for me to talk about. Request bands for me to listen to. Request albums for me to review. Request guests you'd like me to speak with, because I can get pretty much anybody if they don't want to get paid. And hey, just send me an email if you want to talk about aliens or you want me to research a certain UFO case. But this is the last song I'll play, then we're going to go right to the interview. Thanks again to Jimmie. This one's called Broken Ends. With Bjorn from Soilwork on vocals. Bjorn's vocals are killer on this album. He's in Soilwork, he's more of a clean vocalist. Very dirty, distorted vocals on this album. Sounds awesome. funky guitars. Alright, we'll get to some craziness. There's another big old curveball in this song. Nasty. Get a bucket for all that face melt. Don't get it all over my floors. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me. Great interview coming up. Again, send me an email, HeadbangersAtTheHangar@gmail.com if you want to participate on the show. As on this interview, I did get a chance to ask Jimmie a fan question. If you want to ask a question to one of the guests, send me the email. If you participate, I will recognize you on the show. Again, brought to you by Monster Energy, Spotify. This was a big get, guys. I appreciate Jimmie being on the show. I hope you enjoy the interview. And without further ado, here he is, the drummer of Gizmachi, Jimmie Hatcher.
Sure.
Hey, Jimmie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I really appreciate you coming on the show. First of all, I want to congratulate you on the new album.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's I've been listening to it all week in anticipation of the interview. It's really kick-ass, man. You guys, we'll get more into the story as we go along, but you guys have been going for a little bit. A lot of people were waiting for it for a lot of years, and after that amount of time, you wonder, you know, what are they going to sound like? But it's I would say that the sounds, it picks up right where you guys left off.
Oh, yeah, thanks. It was yeah, I don't know. 15 years, something like that, maybe more. Yeah, a lot of people were a little mad that it took forever, which is understandable because, you know, what are you going to do? But it came out pretty good, and yeah, we're all pretty happy with how it came out. So it's pretty cool.
I know Blabbermouth reviewed it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Hey, I've been doing some Google on it. Everybody who's reviewed it has said that it's really good. So it's getting positive feedback.
Yeah, haven't heard anything really too heartbreaking about it so far. So yeah, it's been pretty good in that aspect for sure. Yep.
What kind of promo are you guys doing for it right now?
Back when we first did it, we put out a couple music video, a lyric video. We have just a lot of stuff like that through social media and stuff like that. Obviously, there was no touring or anything, so that was, you know, out of the question. But yeah, not really too much anymore. It got on Liquid Metal. It got up to, I think, number 7 on Devil's Dozen at one point. It was pretty sweet, and yeah, nothing really much since then.
Okay, is there any plans for a tour? Anything like that?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything. Not in the immediate future, but I think maybe next summer-ish or something. There's talks of some stuff, but obviously with, you know, what's going on with the old COVID and you know, how that's all been, there really hasn't been anything in the pipeline coming up soon, that is, anyway. So
okay, all right, man, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Take me back. What was your first instrument? Was it always the drums?
actually was trumpet, and I wanted to play drums. And my music teacher, you could like in elementary school, you could pick 3 things you wanted to play. So I put drums, and French horn, because I knew the school didn't have one.
Yeah.
So he put me on trumpet. I was like, you son of a bitch. So yeah, he's a nice guy, Mr. Worcester, great music teacher. And so he put me on trumpet, and I was like, damn it. So luckily, I guess one of the drum guys wound up dropping out or whatever, and I got to fill the spot the next year. And then so I guess it all kind of worked out. Yep.
Yeah. And so you were in elementary school, you said, when you got to pick?
Yeah, fourth grade. That was my first, I guess. Yeah, actually, I'd bang around the couch and beat the crap out of stuff and piss my mom off. But then 4th grade, I got a practice pad and the whole 9. And then yeah, 5th grade, got my first drum set, same thing. And yeah, it's been cool ever since.
Yeah.
More or less.
So the stereotype with drummers, you got like your Keith Moons and stuff. They're wild people. They're overly like energetic. Where as a little kid, were you just bouncing off the walls?
No, not really. Actually, I was more of like a Neil Peart, where you got to concentrate and try not to mess up, and just have something in my head and try to figure it out for whatever. And I remember I got the hell is it? Living Color Vivid on cassette tape. I'm old, so way back in the day, and I could not figure out how to play. There's a song called Glamour Boys, and Will Calhoun's an awesome drummer, and I was 10 years old or whatever, and I couldn't figure out how to play it, and it drove me crazy for like a year. And then this guy in my church, Matt DeLuca, also a great guy, great teacher, he wound up getting lessons from him, and eventually I got okay, but starting out was rough.
When did you start to take interest up in like rock and roll, hard rock? And what were some of the first bands you remember listening to when you were a kid?
It was my parents always had music playing in the house. My mom was big into Elvis, Michael Jackson, like Santa and stuff like that. Both my parents, they loved the Animals and stuff like that. But I remember my cousin gave me a cassette tape. Man, I must have been in 3rd grade of God, it must have been South of Heaven from Slayer, and my mom heard it and told me I couldn't. They threw it out.
Yeah,
we were going to church all the time, so I got beat, and I couldn't listen to that. But I was so like pumped up about it. And the same thing, I had Rust in Peace on cassette, and Master of Puppets on cassette, and it was early Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, kind of for sure, way early on elementary school.
Nice. Yeah, the name of the show is Headbangers at the Hangar, and it's kind of a tribute to Hangar 18 off of Rust in Peace. Because I try to incorporate on the show, we do mostly talk about like metal and music and stuff like that, but I'm also really interested in the alien aspect of it too. And that's one of the heavy metal albums where, especially because of the cover, the Rust in Peace cover, it's hardcore into that alien theme. So right. I thought that was clever. But yeah, that's funny with Slayer too. Like we're a little bit of a different age. How old are you?
I turned 41 October 21st.
Okay, so yeah, we're about 10 years off. I had the same kind of Slayer experience. My mom, she's cool. Like she's not strict. We didn't grow up like hardcore Catholic or anything like that. But I remember me and my friend had bought tickets to go see Slayer at the Civic Center, and it was during the Christ Illusion tour. And
I think I was at the show.
Where?
I think so.
Yeah, and so I told my mom, I was like, yeah, this is where we're going, and she's very in tune with music. She's a music teacher, and she's like, oh, okay. So she went on Google and Googled some of the lyrics, and she was like,
Whoop, yeah.
I don't know. I ended up going, but she was a little uneasy about it.
Yeah, that I had the same thing happen. Guns N' Roses came out with that album Lies, and I even know what year, but I got it for Easter, a weird Easter gift, right? And as soon as I put it in, first song, whoop, nope, took it out of there, threw the tape out. I wasn't allowed to listen. So, yeah, that happened. Yep.
So you live in Newburgh, right?
Yep, Newburgh. Yep.
Born and raised, or?
Yeah, for life. I grew up here. My parents moved down south, and I still live in the same house. So
you're an NFA guy?
I am. Yep, 1998. If that, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some of the Gizmachi stuff. Is that where you met the other guys at NFA?
NFA, yep. I think they had already they had been a band, I think, previous to me meeting them. And there was like a talent show at NFA, and they had a thing called Battle of the Bands or whatever. And I actually saw them play at one of the talent shows. I was like, damn, these guys are really good, and this is pretty cool, whatever. And then actually the next year, their drummer Anthony Sorcelli, also really nice guy, he wound up, I guess he was going away to college or something like that, and didn't want to do it anymore. And so they started, I guess, trying some dudes out, and I jammed with him a couple times, and and that was pretty much it. I think it was 16, 11th grade, and I played my first show with them. There was a thing called I don't know what it was. Remember the Little Brown Jug thing at NFA? It was like this weird festival they did or something, some kind of weird thing. It was for the fall. It was like a fundraiser, and we had a show there, and that was the first time I played with them. Yeah, October '96, I think it was, something like that.
So how long prior to this had you been playing drums in that kind of like rock and roll setting where you have a whole kit and it's not like school band, like how long were you doing it for?
It was a couple of years, I'd say. Once I got to junior high, I was in jazz band, like, wind ensemble and whatever. And I met a couple dudes there, John Versace, James Paquin, all old friends. We had like a little band. We used to jam at his house and at my house. And so I'd say probably from like 8th grade on. So like, maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years, something like that.
Okay. And when you say that you saw the guys playing, who was it specifically? Was it Mike?
In Gizmachi?
Yeah. When you said that you had saw them playing for the talent show, which guys was it specifically?
Oh, back then it was Jay Hannon, who's still currently guitar, Chris Gilmore. It was a guy, Matt Cummings, who was the second actually singer of Gizmachi, and then Anthony Sorcelli on drums. It was only 4 dudes. Mike actually joined the band way later. Damn, I don't even know when he joined. Maybe late '90s or something like that. There was a couple different guitar personnel, I guess you could say, and then Mike joined a little bit later. But in back in the day, it was just because Jay's older than me and Chris is older than me. We used to joke how old Jay is, but Jay's about, I think he's 44 or something, and they were a couple years older than me, all those guys, and so it was Jay, Chris, Matt Cummings, and Anthony Sorcelli. Those are the guys at the talent show. Yeah.
Okay. How'd the first show go with you playing in there?
It was freezing. We covered Blind from Korn and nice. Jerk Off from Tool, and my bass drum pedal exploded on the second to last song, so that was pretty fun.
It's better than the second to last. So
that happened before too. I think there's a video of it on YouTube. It was so weird to like go back and see that, because it seems like it was 2 weeks ago, but it was 47 years ago, and it was fun.
Exaggeration.
Yeah, a little bit. But it, I always like playing with those dudes, and that was it was fun.
Any originals, or it was just covers?
Yeah, they had again they had, I guess, an album before I joined the band, so it was basically, I think they had a little EP. It was like 4 songs. What the hell are they called? Prism, Silverfish, 4, a couple regulars, and then those 2 covers. So I think we had like a half-hour set or something like that.
Okay. So when did you guys start playing some of the like bigger stages? I guess you'd say like the Chances, stuff like that. Some where you're getting this more people at the clubs.
I would say in the late '90s, maybe '98 on. I think once I went to OC, to school or whatever, and right around then, that was basically hardcore was getting pretty big back then, like Vision and Disorder, Candiria, Snapcase, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we pretty lucky early on. The Sean Kane, who used to sing for Gizmachi, he used to work at the Chance and was tight with all those dudes, and he would always kind of get us on these shows or whatever. And early on, we played a lot of like hardcore shows. We weren't necessarily hardcore, but we did enough where we wouldn't get thrown off the stage or whatever. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool. And basically, the late '90s and stuff, we would play the Chance like twice a month at some points. It was like 15 times a year, the golden era. And I'd say late 90s, early 2000s for sure. Yep.
Okay. And were you playing any songs that were on the Imbuing album at that point?
Oh no, the imbuing was when the hell did we record that? 2000 and
2005, I think.
yeah, it was 2005. Yeah, we played the Chance actually after the imbuing came out. I want to say we were on tour, and then we wound up coming through there. It was an awesome show. But yeah, before then it was just we had just doing the thing. We'd play like showcases and all these shows. We were kind of branching out like upstate and city and Jersey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was EPs. We had an album called Melee, which was we thought it was good at the time, but if you listen to it now, it's like, ugh. But yeah, it was basically all stuff like that. And then once the imbuing came out, we basically went from like just playing around here to we went on tour with Byzantine and Diecast and a couple other great bands, and then from there it was just all over the place.
Yeah. So your guys sound like, obviously you're a metal band, but if we want to kind of put it in a subgenre, I would say it's progressive metal. Is that fair?
I'd say sure. There's a little bit of that in there. Some weird time signatures and bar stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's not like Liquid Tension or Dream Theater-ish, but only because that's too hard. But yeah, a little bit. It's not just standard, I guess metal, as you'd say. But
the way I describe to you guys, and this is no knock on this band, but I say Gizmachi is a more tolerable kind of Tool or kind of Meshuggah band.
Oh yeah.
Like I like Meshuggah, but sometimes it's like with all the weird time signatures and stuff, like it makes your head kind of rattle back and forth. It's like, hey man, like I'm kind of here to I want to listen to some hard stuff. Like sometimes that's good, but some bands like they go so crazy with the time signature stuff. You guys have the perfect blend because it's metal, right? But it's never to the point where it's just kind of mainstream, kind of, okay, I was expecting this and here it is. Like you guys always go into some crazy direction at some point with the songs, but then you always bring it back where it's not too confusing, Yeah.
Yeah. That's partly because like we, for a little while there, I'd say before the imbuing came out, like Tomas Hockey was one of my favorite drummers of all time. And there was a point where we wanted to be like that, you know what I mean? And it was, if you listen to like that Destroy, Erase, Improve record, there's a lot of I guess of the riffs and the way we kind of do stuff kind of pulled from that album specifically. And yeah, it was, that stuff is really, it's really tough. And you got to have that mindset for it, all math all the time. Some dudes can just do it. We couldn't really go all the way down that street. So we kind of like, we tried to like do like a couple melody and some straight stuff and, kind of like mix it in, like you said. And yeah, it kind of served us pretty good for the most part. And we just try to like dabble in, I guess, a bunch of stuff rather than just, hammer the, odd times and the, ostinato stuff like that.
So who were some influences for the band as a whole back then in the early days?
I would say Slipknot, gigantic one when that first album came out, like, everybody's head exploded.
Yeah.
Tool for sure. That was one of our favorite bands. There was a point where we wanted to really be Tool, like stuff like that. Again, Meshuggah, super huge influence. Early Korn. A lot of the like Jay and Mike are really into the 80s stuff, like Duran Duran and what the hell is that other thing? What's that other band? Toto, Africa. Yeah, Toto, stuff like that.
Yeah. That's okay though, because like you don't want everybody liking the same stuff. Like it's good that they like that, like Duran Duran, because you could tell that's probably why you guys have such melodic kind of choruses,
Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
whereas if everybody in the band just liked, the hard screaming and the same kind of thing, it would just, it would consistently just be. But me personally, I like the choruses with the singing and melody in it.
Oh yeah, I like those too. Yep, big fan.
So when when did things kind of start to take a turn? Is there a specific moment where you remember like something happened and you were like, oh shit, like here we go, guys, like this is about to take off?
So we played prior to us recording the imbuing. I forgot what year it is. Maybe it was 2004. Sean, again, the old singer, he had gone to a Slipknot show and like linked up with Sean Crahan, Clown from Slipknot. And I guess he gave him a demo and wound up hanging out and shooting the shit with him, and they became buddies and stuff like that. They're still friends. I think Sean still works with him even currently. And he gave us a demo, and then all of a sudden, I think it was Easter, I think 2004, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be in New York in 2 days. I want you guys to play a showcase for me. If I like it, I'm going to sign you." And we were like, "Holy shit!" So we literally just went down there and played the showcase, and he was cool and walked out. And then a couple days later, he's like, "Well, let's do this album and we'll see what happens." And we were like, holy crap, you know? And
yeah, dude, how trippy is that? You tell me that Slipknot is one of your influences, and then a dude who's literally in the band, which at that time is one of the biggest metal bands in the world, and he's like, I like your band. Like,
yeah,
that had to have been a crazy feeling.
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking. I'm kind of like a worrywart with stuff like that, and you know, him being a drummer too, and I'm like looking over to see if he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit, I better not mess this up, you know, stuff like that. But it was really awesome for sure.
So like that showcase show, you were playing songs that would eventually end up on the imbuing?
Yep, actually all of them were. Yeah, I think we played like 4 or 5 songs, and yeah, all those were on the imbuing. Yep.
Okay, so he gives you guys a green light. He wants to sign you to his label. Did he have anybody else on that label?
I want to say he had a band called what the hell, Dirty Little Rabbits or something.
He was in that band though, right?
He was. Damn, what the hell? There was another band that he did. He produced. They're really good. I can't remember the name. They had a music video on MTV. The Drummer's Machine. I can't remember the name of them right now. But there was one other band that he was kind of really heavily, you know, did a lot of production for him, stuff like that, and was involved in. It's not Downset, is it? Down the Sun. That's what it's called. Down the Sun.
Okay. And what is that? That's metal too?
Oh yeah, that's really, really, really metal. Like straight, you know, like
yeah.
Yeah, they're really good.
Okay, so you guys are gonna do the record with him, and he sets you up in like a big formal studio?
Yeah, we recorded at Spin Studios in Queens, New York, and yeah, we recorded all of our stuff previous at like Nada in New Windsor, New York, John Nicolario, which is awesome. You know, it's in the basement of his house. It was pretty cool. And then, you know, all of a sudden it's like, you know, gigantic, you know, 4-story studio. I think they had, the board they had was like, it was like the whole room was a huge control board. I guess it was the same one that Michael Jackson, they used on Thriller, one of the soundboards. Really? Yeah, they had the big ass Genelec like speaker set up in all the rooms. It was crazy as hell. And yeah, a little bit intimidating because, like I said, you know, you go from, you know, good for around here to like bang, New York City kind of like holy shit type. Yeah, so I think we did the album in 2.5 weeks or something like that. Went a little bit over budget, but you know, what are you gonna do? And and that was that pretty much.
Was he in the room while you guys were recording, or he was just kind of overseeing from afar?
Yeah, he was there every single day.
Really?
Him and his assistant Ben, also nice guy. There was a part specifically in a song called Voice of Sanity. We have like a slower middle part, and there's like a bunch of toms and stuff. And he would point to me which cymbal he wanted me to hit. And if I missed it, he'd like, all right, do it again. So it was a little bit of that going on. It was, yeah, he was really hands-on about the whole thing. Yep.
Did you like that, or was it kind of more nerve-wracking than anything?
It was a little bit of both. Like, he's a really nice guy. So like I said, it was cool. But, you know, of course, I'm worrying about just recording as in general. And then I have, you know, one of my idols in the room with me.
Staring at you.
Shit. So really cool.
Yeah. And he was on the People show too, right? Didn't he have like a little excerpt in the beginning and the end?
Yeah.
He like, shit, this button or something like that, or he was cursing.
Yep, and it was his daughter that there was like the little kid voice and the Welcome to the People Show part in the middle of the song. That was his daughter, too.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you guys recorded that, and it came out. And what was the reception like at the time?
So the record company came in and there was a listening party and all this stuff, and everybody's brain was like, holy shit, this is gonna be awesome, it's gonna sell so many records, blah blah blah. And then it kind of was like when it came out, because we hadn't done like any touring like previous. It was just like, oh yeah, Sean Clayhan, and look, here it is, blah blah blah. So it did I mean, for us it did really good, but it didn't do the record sales that the record company per se was projecting. And but like I said, we did a couple tours like directly after that were pretty cool. But yeah, it wasn't like anything, we weren't selling out arenas, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And you guys, one of your big claims to fame was Ozzfest 2005, right?
Yeah, that was the best.
Second stage?
Second stage, yep. It was great.
What were just tell the people, what were some of the bands that were playing that year? God. What was the main stage? Do you remember who the main stage was?
The main stage was, I think, Black Sabbath, sometimes Iron Maiden, Mudvayne, I want In Flames, and Shadows Fall. I think that was the main stage. The second stage was like, basically, if you were to open my CD booklet of bands, it was like, it could have been me pick the bands. It was Trivium, Soilwork, which is my favorite band of all time, one of them. As I Lie Dying, Wicked Wisdom, that Jada Pinkett was the singer for. Philip Fisher played drums for them. They were like an all-star band.
They're making a comeback too, I heard, right? Aren't they making another album?
I heard. I think the bass player they had, this guy Rio Lawrence, really nice guy. He passed away recently, which sucks. But yeah, I read something that they might be doing that, which is cool because they're all machines, man. They're really cool.
Yep. And she has, I don't know if you follow the pop news or whatever. This was kind of a while ago, but her and Will Smith have quite an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I heard they got.
Yeah. So you guys were. I was thinking about this too. You guys were doing it when. I mean, for me, like, I'm 31 years old. You know, the early mid 2000s was, for metal music, the golden era. Yep. You had Slipknot was coming out. I don't think Subliminal Verses had come out yet, right? But they had done Iowa.
Right. Volume 3. I think that year, was it 2005 they came out with it? I don't know if it was before. You're right. Right around there, that was when it came out.
Yeah. So you had them doing that. You had Disturbed, had 10,000 Fists.
Yep.
I mean, Lamb of God was doing their thing.
Yep. Manson,
I think Golden Age of Grotesque was around that time period. That was the golden age, man. Like, like you're saying, when I was in high school, all the rage was that metalcore stuff. Yeah. And that peak was those years. Like you were saying, As I Lay Dying, Trivium, Shadows Fall, Unearth. Like, those bands were huge. And they were all around that time. So when you guys were doing it, it was the absolute golden age, you know?
Yep, I agree. It was, that tour, it was really good. Arch Enemy was another band, Bury Your Dead. Who the
Between
hell?
the Buried and Me?
Between the Buried and Me, Mastodon.
Mastodon, yep.
All those, it was a really.
Machine Head had made kind of their comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally a fan of old Machine Head, but what they've become now is really, really good too.
Yeah, they've been doing they've had a crazy kind of timeline. I mean, Burn My Eyes came out, and 10 Ton was really good too. Then they got into the new metal stuff, which did not go over that well. Right. Yeah. But then they came back. In my opinion, they did Through the Ashes, and they haven't really looked back since. I mean, Bloodstones and Diamonds was a killer album. Locust. They just put out a 3-track EP, which is heavy as hell. Like, they're back, man.
Yeah, they've been good for such a long time that they just kind of expected at this point. I think their drummer left the band though. They have a new drummer, I think, because that guy Dave McClain, I think he left and plays for God Exodus or something. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I think it's some kind of European name. I forget the name, but yeah, they go through a lot of guys. Flynn is the only guy that's left over. The rest of them
oh yeah,
have gone, you know. But so while you guys are playing Ozzfest and playing all these shows and stuff, you guys are drinking, you doing a little bit of partying?
I personally I don't drink or do anything, so I was
Okay.
just I was high on life, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you know, a couple our bass players used to be pretty into drinking, Chris and Sean, but yeah, we weren't really a huge party band. Like especially at this point, we got so lucky so early on with like getting on this tour. We didn't want to do anything stupid.
Yeah.
You know, kind of derail. Like, oh, Jay jumped out the window at midnight because he was drunk. You know what I'm saying? Something weird.
Yeah, it makes sense. Do you remember any bands that were like overly like cool to you guys? Like you guys sat down and had a great conversation, like, oh shit, like I just had a hour conversation with the dude from Trivium, or well, for example, you know, was there any bands that really stuck out where they were just really cool with you guys?
I don't want to sound like the corny response, but everybody there was like super cool. And we actually shared a bus with Trivium for that tour. And this is when they were kind of really starting to, you know what I mean? After Tendency, I think, just came out. And yeah, we shared a bus with them. I used to lift weights with those dudes in Trivium. Actually, I lifted a couple of times with the singer from As I Lay Dying, the guy that tried to kill his wife. I was like, oh, yeah.
Any signs that anything
No.
anything from that guy would lead you to believe he would want to hire a hitman to kill his girlfriend?
I could have sworn that someone told me they were Christian metal at that point. I was like, no way, really? Like, you know, they're super heavy.
That's such a weird term, and like they say that for a lot of bands. Like As I Lay Dying was Christian metal. Who's August Burns Red was Christian metal, right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I can only make out like 25% of the lyrics anyway. Most of it's screaming. How do you constitute yourself as a Christian metal band? It just doesn't make sense.
I agree. That's why I heard that they were that, and I was a huge fan of those guys. And yeah, they were all really cool and really nice. There was a funny story. What? They're Christian metal?
Oh no.
No. The guitar player Nick from As I Lay Dying, before, like I said, Jay, the guitar player, my brother-in-law, he's a little bit older, and he doesn't really. The only thing he listens to is like Anthrax and like old Megadeth and old Van Halen. Like he just stays in the '80s for life. And the guy from As I Lay Dying, Nick, the guitar player, came up and like introduced himself. Like, hey, we're gonna be on Ozzfest together, blah blah blah. And Jay thought that he was the guitar player from Trivium, so he's asking the questions about the Trivium stuff the whole time. And the guy's going like, what? I'm As I Lay Dying. And we're like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't say anything, but I just didn't. We're talking 5 minutes about the other thing, but it was pretty funny. Yep.
So you don't have to say names if you don't want to, but was anybody a dick, like from the higher bands? Don't say names if you don't want to, but there surely had to have been somebody who was kind of an asshole.
Who was a dick? Oh God. You know what? There was. This isn't like dickish, but I know Ozzy Osbourne was having health problems at the time, and so he couldn't play a couple shows. All right, I'll tell you a funny story, but I'm not going to say any names.
You don't have to, yeah.
One of my favorite dudes, and from my favorite band, Iron Maiden, was doing the main stage thing, and like me and Jay, my brother-in-law, who were always eating, so we're out at catering and we're farting around getting food or whatever. And we kind of hear all this commotion to the left, and there's Bruce Dickinson being like, you know, escorted through this weird hallway into like a side door. And one of our buddies, this guy, you know, really wanted his autograph, and like he's in one of the bands, and he goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, man, you know, I'm a huge fan. It'd be an honor if you could sign this for me." Blah blah. And Bruce Dickinson looks at him and goes, "Who the fuck are you?" in his British accent. through the door, and I was like, damn, that's messed up. And it was like a movie where he like put his head down, and so I said, damn, I felt bad.
That was probably frowned upon, right? If you're in a band to ask somebody else for an autograph.
You know, I admire the drive to get it, because like, you know, that was the first time I saw anybody from Iron Maiden, like the whole time, and it was just like randomly right there. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But you know, you gotta take your shot sometimes.
Yeah, that's ballsy. If you're gonna try it, I mean, you might as well try it on you know, one of the biggest guys in the whole festival. So like you said, take your shot, you know.
I agree. Yeah, it was I felt bad, but it was fun to watch.
Did album sales kind of spike at all after the Ozzfest stuff?
A little bit, and still we didn't hit the numbers that everybody thought we were going to hit for whatever reason. So yeah, they went up a little bit. Like, you know, everybody we met was cool. Like, there was like good reviews and stuff like that. Everything was just positive, but for some reason we never got to the top of the roller coaster, so to speak. You know what I mean? So
remind me, like, we're talking 2005. Things today, as compared to how they were 20 years ago, completely different. Everybody's on Spotify, Apple Music. Were CD sales kind of trending downwards anyways, or was it still were bands still generating a lot of revenue from the actual sales of CDs?
I think that any band like in our position, you know, any band that has to tour to kind of like survive, I guess you make all your money off merch and getting, you know, and just touring and stuff like that. Like CD sales, at least in our case, all of that was just sent right back to the record company to pay back, you know, the cost of recording it and stuff like that. And I think we were going, it was still MySpace, the MySpace era.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was before Facebook and everything like that. So yeah, social media was just starting to really, I guess, you know, kind of take off. And even for a couple of years didn't really become obviously what it's become now. But yeah, there was a lot of downloading, like Napster. That was like a huge thing back then. And
yeah,
like you said, we're kind of like taking over for compact disc and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a little bit of that going on, but in our case, I don't really think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just like another factor maybe of why we didn't really catch the top of the mountain, so to speak.
Yeah. When you guys were doing the live shows, what were like one or two songs that were really killing it, where you were seeing like the pit was moving a lot or people were singing a chorus? What songs were getting it?
Well, we had a song called Wearing Skin, and there's like a pretty metal breakdown. It's, you know, 4 on the China count, and then didn't bit, you know, the usual breakdown, metal breakdown. And that was a pretty good one. We got featured, or not featured, but we were one of the people, you know, on the Ozzfest DVD where they put that part in. It was pretty cool. And actually, no, they didn't. They put Voice of Sanity. All right, I digress. But anyway, there's a video on YouTube. Someone recorded that part, and it's pretty crazy. Voice of Sanity was another one. It was one of the probably the longest song on the album. But that has like the most singy chorus, I guess you could say, melodic or whatever. And you know, once people started to get into it, that was one of the ones that had pretty good response.
Okay.
Like that. Yep.
Off that album, my favorite chorus is Blood Wine. I think that's awesome chorus. My favorite song off that album is shit, man. Now that I'm talking to you, it's the second song, Wandering Eyes. Yep. Wandering Eyes. That's one of those songs where, like we were talking about before, it's kind of going, and you're going down one path, and then I think it's like about 2.5 minutes in, it takes a turn for the better, where it just completely changes, and it's just wild. And then again, you're going down that path, and then there's another kind of crazy thing that you guys are doing at the end, where it's like, whoa.
Yeah, Jay and Mike did this. I guess this is called bridge bending. Like, you could do it with a whammy bar, but they like weirdly grip the back of the bridge and like pull it up with their hands. And it's funny because whenever they get asked about it too, they're like, we didn't know why, you know, I forgot where they said they heard it from or saw it, but they're like, I don't know why more people didn't do it. I guess the band Car Bomb does it a little bit. But yeah, that was also another cool thing that people were into, like guitar fans especially, you know, we're into that part a lot.
Yeah. Yep. So you guys the album's kind of running its course. And then, so when you read a lot of articles about Gizmachi, right? It's a term they use fairly or unfairly is the word disappeared. So you guys put the album out, you played Ozzfest, and then the thought is you guys kind of just vanished. So where did you guys go? What happened that we didn't get another album after that?
So let's see. After Ozzfest, I think we had maybe 2 weeks off, and we went on the road immediately after, and we went on tour with it was Diecast, Devil Inside, and another band I can't remember, and it was pretty good. And what had happened was I had developed this weird thing in my left wrist called decor vein syndrome.
Okay.
And basically my like thumb ligament was I don't know how to explain it. You have like, you know, the 5 wires that run through your arm. Remember in Terminator 2 where he kind of cuts his arm open, you can see like,
yes.
So my thumb was getting like stuck. So I'd like wake up in the middle of the night and my thumb would be like stuck up in the air, and it would be like super painful, and like it would snap back and forth because it was so like swollen or whatever.
Your actual thumb.
My thumb, yeah, but it was the thumb ligament inside my wrist which was causing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to go see a specialist and do this thing. I was on this weird medicine. It was making me sick. And then they wanted to do surgery. And I remember specifically we played at this place in Clifton Park, one of the last days on tour. And I hit the snare drum on this weird angle. And I thought I was having a heart attack on stage. Like my whole left arm went numb, and like I had pain in my shoulders. Like, holy, what the hell's going on? And after that, it just kept getting worse and worse. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. And so I got home and I went to the doctor, whatever.
You finished the show?
I did finish the show. There's actually a picture of me holding the stick like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they put me for it just because I had to. And yeah, we finished that. Actually finished the tour too, or whatever. But I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And they wanted to do surgery, and I was like, I didn't really want it. The guys like, you might lose like, you know, all this, you know, nerve damage and feeling in your arm. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I had to wear a goofy like arm brace for a couple months. And what sucked, it was in the middle of us kind of, you know, taking off. Yeah. So they wound up, we had another tour with Hatebreed and Soulfly, which is right after, and I couldn't go on it. So
that sucks, man. That's that's a good bill right there.
Yeah, it was.
Hatebreed's one of my favorites, and Soulfly is so like they're seriously underrated. Like a lot of people know them because they did that one album where it had a lot of like guest appearances, like Corey Taylor did a song and stuff. But if you listen to the other albums that they have after that, where there's really not a lot of guests on it, like that stuff is still killer, dude.
Yeah, they didn't mess around. And yeah, Hatebreed too, like Matt Byrne, like what an awesome drummer. I wish he'd get more of a chance to kind of show how good he is at drums, you know, in Hatebreed, but you know, he kind of just has to serve the music, I guess, in that aspect. But yeah, they've been around forever, and they're still, you know, still doing it to it. So, but yeah, ultimately.
Keep going a bit. I'm sorry, man. I cut you off. You had to miss the Hatebreed show.
Yeah, we got our my friend Chad Hagedorn. He filled in for that tour, and they had something else lined up. I can't remember, but then he wound up not being able to tour also at the end of that tour. So they were kind of stuck. They took a couple months off, and my hand was just whatever. And I didn't want to get surgery. I was kind of like scared of what was going to happen. I'm like, you know, I'm 25 years old. I want my arm to fall off, you know, just weird stuff you think about.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to heal up and do all that stuff. And they were trying out a couple people. They got this dude Kenny for a little bit, and they played a couple shows around here. I think they did some stuff out in Ohio. But then I guess it didn't really work with him. And oddly enough, the songs that we were writing around that time were some of the songs that actually wound up on the Omega Clyde album. That's how, you know, long ago they were kind of like, you know, conceptualized or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that it didn't work out with any of those dudes. And then Sean wound up getting a job with Slipknot, and he wound up, you know, taking off with that in that way. So it was just that's kind of basically what happened. You know, they didn't have a drummer, and nobody was really jiving, and Sean, you know, got lucky and wound up working with Slipknot. And yeah, that was basically it for a bunch of years, pretty much.
So did when they were auditioning other drummers and stuff, did you feel any kind of animosity? Like, hey guys, like, can you wait for me for a little bit? I'll be back. Or did you kind of encourage it? Like, hey guys, I definitely can't play. You guys should still push through though. Like, what was your feeling about them maybe going in a different direction?
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. Like, I had a long talk with my parents and like a bunch of friends. Even Clown from Slipknot called me and it's like, dude, he's like, you got to take, if you feel like it's gonna mess you up for whatever, he's like, do what you feel is best for you. There's no pressure. It's like shit happens, and I feel for you either way. But it's not that it's all good. But he wasn't,
Yeah.
he was cool. You know what I mean? He understood kind of, and so yeah, actually, they audition drummers in my basement. Like they use my drum set sometimes.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually, yeah, I let Chad use a lot of my hardware and my bass drum pedals, stuff like that. It was cool. Like it was what it was. They had a couple funny auditions. Mike Rafferty, shout out to him from Brand New Scene. He tried out and tried to bang my sister. It's another story, but yeah, yeah. They had a couple dudes try out, and just I guess nothing really did it for him. And yeah, it would have been cool. You know what I mean? Like I said, even that dude Kenny, that when they play a couple of shows, I think he used my snare drum too. So it might have been one of those things like when David Silvera got hurt, you kind of go and help out and do stuff. I probably would have wound up doing that, but who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah, touring's tough though. Trust me, it's not always the best.
How many nights a week were you guys playing?
When we're on the road,
Yeah.
shit, probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The worst ones, you have a show in like Pennsylvania, the next show the next night's in Cleveland, then you got $45 to make it 800 miles. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, and it was pretty busy. We had a couple tours where there was like no breaks and stuff like that. Ozzfest was a little easier because we didn't have many off dates, and it was just one show, the next day rest, one show, next day rest, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So that was a little more doable, I'd say. Yep.
What did Sean end up doing for Slipknot? Sean Kane.
He was doing a couple of things. I think he was the personal assistant for Clown, and he also drum tech as well. And now he's actually the tour manager for Mudvayne, which is pretty cool too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's been in the business for over 10 years now, still doing this. So pretty cool.
He left on good terms though. It was just like he just kind of told the band like, hey, I'm going to do this, and everybody was just kind of cool with it. Like, all right, I guess you're not in the band anymore.
It was a mixed bag. So like I said, he was real busy, and Jay, who recorded the album, he had a studio. He moved down to South Carolina, which where he lives now. So like Mike and Chris and Sean actually recorded half of the album, doing screaming and stuff like that, but never finished it. And it just kept getting harder and harder for him to schedule time to go down there because he was always busy on tour, doing whatever.
Yeah.
And so that kind of played into it too. And then it got to a point where I guess everybody's like, yeah, we got all this material, it's pretty much finished. Like, let's try to make a push here. And Sean couldn't do it. He just didn't have the time and stuff like that. So I guess everybody kind of just made the decision to just see if we could kind of go another direction to just get it out there. Because at this point, it had been over, several years since, these things were recorded. So like I said, I did drums in 2010 in the city, and we were sitting on it for 10 years before, anything got like, finalized or mixed or anything like that. So it was a while. And
so some of the drums that, if I put that new album on right now, some of the drums I hear were actually recorded 11 years ago.
All of them, yes.
All of them?
All of them, 1 week in same studio we recorded the imbuing in with one of the same engineers, this guy Paul and Paul Suarez, and Jay basically recorded all the drums at Spin Studios, same place. This time it was only 1 week, and this album was way harder to play for me than the imbuing, but it was I think it came out a lot better. There was no pressure, there's no superstars seeing what I was doing. It was just me and Jay, so in that regard it was pretty cool.
So as things are as the band is kind of scrambling to kind of figure out what your next move is going to be. What was Clown's role? I mean, were you guys still with his label at the time? Was he encouraging you guys to keep going, or had he kind of gone out of the picture?
A little bit of both. Early on, he was pretty supportive, and he's like, kind of the same thing I was talking about before with, sometimes this stuff happens and it's more common than not, you know what I mean? And he was going to kind of, not be, I don't know, I guess be supportive about either decision, blah, blah, blah. But as time went on, as Slipknot got bigger and bigger and bigger, the less we heard from stuff like that. And the same thing with Sean, like, they were both out, ruling the world, and we were, sitting in my basement. I was still like, I don't even know if I want to play drums anymore, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So there was a lot of that. And eventually it was just, I don't think anybody's really heard from him in a while, sadly. But I still talk to Sean here and there. And like I said, he's doing pretty good now. So.
Did you, you're still a fan of the band Slipknot?
I am, yep.
Did you get a chance to hear the new single, Chapelton Rag?
I have not. My friend sent it to me. I have not listened to it yet. I've been listening to the new Mastodon album just on repeat, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't heard. When did that come out?
I want to say last week, October 29th. Or was that 2 weeks ago? Last week, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like their Emperor of Sand. That was a while ago, it seems like.
Yeah.
That was their last album before that work. But I thought that was some of the albums right before that, they seemed kind of boring to me. But I feel like with Emperor of Sand, like they kind of brought it back to for lack of better words, not so boring. They're hit or miss. They're one of those bands where like I've seen them 3 or 4 times live, and sometimes it's like, okay, you guys are a studio band. But then I like them. I like them. But check out the new Slipknot single.
I know. Yep.
It's the band has they're not the same as they were, obviously, when they first came out. But there's still some cool stuff going on. Some of it you could tell it's going in a different direction, but give it a listen for sure. Yeah, I'll always support that band, man. I love Slipknot. They're my favorite metal band. So
I do, man. And when I heard the first album, I was just like, "This is it. This is all the things in your brain. You're like, man, this is what you can do." They just did it on that CD, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And Jay Weinberg, who's obviously filled in for the late Joey Jordison, I think he's done a great job, and he sounds just like him for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they really didn't miss a beat. Like Joey is I think a lot of people in the metal world, you especially, you're a metal drummer, would just give him the award best metal drummer of all time. Straight up metal, But so you think, okay, a replacement's coming in, like how are you going to replace him? But like you were saying, I mean, it really didn't miss a beat, man. Like he does a really good job, Jay.
He does. He's super tight. All the songs, like, if you close your eyes and listen, you're just like, hey, that's Joey behind the kit, 90% ish, whatever. Yeah, he's really good.
Did you ever, in your travels, did you ever get a chance to meet Joey?
I did, actually.
You did?
I did. We played a 2-week thing, little tour with Slipknot and Lamb of God before Ozzfest, right after we got back from Europe. And I remember my parents came to the show. It was in some arena, some hockey place in Connecticut, and we were just
Hartford.
I think it was Hartford. Yep. And he just came. Me and Jay were bullshitting, and he just came up and said, "Hey, man, you're Jimmie from Gizmachi. I love your stuff." And I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" Super cool dude. And man, he was like, at that point, he was one of the top 3 in my idol book, and he was really nice and really cool. And we met all the guys at that show. It was really, I don't know. Even looking back, my brain just doesn't understand what happened, but it was awesome.
Yeah. So so obviously recent events, you hear a couple months back, Joey Jordison has passed away. What were some emotions?
Way too young. And it's weird because like something during Subliminal Versus tour. Something had happened to. He was playing. Something was up with him. I don't know how to explain it really, but he was, from '99 to like 2003, just straight up machine, like murdering, drum fill, super tight and everything. And I don't know, just something was going on. We could tell. And Sean was in with Slipknot. He's like, buddies with him and stuff. And I guess he was having some trouble. Something happened with his back, or he had a neurological disorder or something. They're saying that was affecting his legs, I guess, especially. And this is right around the time where he had the thing where his drum set would flip upside down and do all the. Well, it's probably half of that. Like, how do you do a drum solo upside down? You know what I mean? But something beyond that. And then, it was just weird because just part of getting old, dudes just changed and they look different, and you could just tell something was going on. And he just died way too young, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, 40 something, and pretty sad. And it sucks because I met him, and he was someone I've looked up to for so long, and just to die like almost the same age as me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, holy crap. And
and it feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel I don't feel like I got a great explanation as to why. I mean, he passes away and it's like, oh yeah, well he had some health issues, and obviously there was rumors that he was fighting alcoholism. But it's like, okay, I mean, but why did he die though? Like, did he overdose? Was he drinking? What was it? His health? What was the specific thing that was ailing him? I feel like we haven't really gotten the answers to that yet. So
I don't know. I haven't heard anything through the grapevine or anything either. I just know that. And you hate to see it, especially with someone that good, that young. You know what I mean? And it's very sad. Yep.
You met Paul too?
I did. Yep. Also very, very nice guy. Really quiet, cool dude. Yep.
That's awesome, man. So you're 1999, that self-titled album rolled around, and I didn't get into metal until, I don't know, it was maybe 16, 17. So I didn't get to have the experience of it coming out, me fully grasping it and be like, whoa. So you play it for the first time, right? Was that an absolute game changer in the metal world? Was it different than anything you had really heard before?
It was, and specifically because of Joey's drumming. Like I said, all of the things that you think are cool in your head that you might want to try to do, he was doing on that album, and it was like fast and precise and like neat, and it was they knocked it out of the park. And there was outside of like I don't know who was big back then, like Morbid Angel and like maybe Cannibal Corpse, like that shit was hard as hell for metal, you know what I mean? And it was kind of, and then they kind of crossed the bridge, like we were talking about, with melodic vocals and the catchy kind of choruses. They had a couple on there, like the Wait and Bleed and Spit It Out or whatever, and it was just like, what the hell? And
Purity.
That was, it was for sure a testament to why they got so big so quick, because they were doing everything that all these other bands were doing, but they were doing it the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. That album blew my head in half for sure.
Yeah. And another thing I remember about them too is like, I don't want you to take offense to this, but guys do drum solos sometimes, right? And it's like, okay, like a couple seconds goes by, it's like, oh, I'm good with this, we can move on. But when he did the drum solo for the Disaster Pieces DVD, I had not seen them live at this point, right? So I get the Disaster Pieces DVD, and he's doing his drum solo, and like we were saying, where he's like strapped in, and the actual kit is up in the air, it's going left to right, it's going up and down, and then it starts going upside down and swirling around, and this dude's still just going nuts.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing. Like, even if you don't have appreciation for like drums as an instrument per se, like you look at that and it's like, damn, like this guy is on another level. Like, it was something else, man.
I agree. He did the old, I think Tommy Lee did it, and like the late 80s with Motley Crue, but Joey Jordison just did it better and on steroids, so to speak. Like, you know, it was awesome. And, you know, even him, I guess you could call it like an icon type thing where, you know, he's not just a drummer from Slipknot. He's like, you know, an icon, I guess is the word they use now. But, you know, just his whole drum setup, the way it looked, the way he looked with his mask, like, because he was like, you know, a shorter guy, it just all fit like perfectly. And it was, you know, I don't want to say lightning in a bottle, but when those original dudes came out with that first album, it was like, forget about it. And even, you know, going up through Iowa and Subliminal Verses, they were firing on all cylinders, as they say. And it was fun to watch.
Yep, for sure. So let's get back to the Gizmachi stuff. So was there ever a point, right? Like, this is just, it's really not moving anywhere. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a point you remember where it was close to where you guys were all kind of feeling it, like, okay, this is going to be it. Gizmachi is never going to record anything else. We're never going to put out another album. We had a really good run, but guys, I think this is it. Was there ever a moment like that?
Definitely. So right around maybe 2007, 2008, like when they had, you know, at this point they hadn't been on tour for over a year now. Sean was with Slipknot out there touring. Nothing was really going on. Like even those side projects, no, nothing. Like I went up getting like a real job and it sucked, you know, stuff like that. And
tell me about it.
Oh God, and that's the word. Mistakes were made. And so yeah, for sure. Around then, we were just there. We weren't even talking. Like it was just 2 or 3 years ago by, and it was like, you know, whatever. We had these songs like stored away, like we knew how to play them. They jammed with a couple other drummers, but again, like nothing really stuck. And I hadn't played drums probably for like 2 years. And so one day they were just joking around and they're like, hey, why don't you come jam? We got this space out in Fishkill, and this dude's drum set is here. He's like, why don't we try jamming some of the songs? And I hadn't played in God knows how long. And I had to play totally weird now and not nearly as cool as I was. But so I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And we kind of went out and jammed, and it was fun to, like, I don't want to say it was just like We Never Left, because I sucked and was super rusty, couldn't play shit, but it was, I don't want to say like you know, when those, what do they say, like the supernova explodes and everything just turns to black and it goes out. It felt like that, like, oh, this was kind of like the last hurrah, like, oh, we'll just jam one more time and that would be that. But yeah, right before then we hadn't done anything, and then we started just jamming, and then from there it kind of turned into, well, we got this material, maybe we should just try recording it and do whatever. So it was actually, you know, almost the very end, which led to actually the beginning of doing this last album. So it's kind of like a hand-in-hand type thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And I had read Mike got sick.
Mike, oh yeah, he wound up getting testicular cancer. Yep.
Okay. And what year ish was that? Do you remember?
I don't. I remember I had to give him a ride one time in the hospital, and the air conditioner didn't work in my car, and we both lost about 13 pounds from sweating driving city. But oh man, what the hell year was that? Maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Pretty recent. Yeah, I'd say something like that. I can't really remember though.
He's all good now?
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, it was before 2017. Yeah, he's good now. He's on the up and up, and you know, God willing, he doesn't get it again.
It was one of those things where they caught it at a good enough time, and he was just like, okay, immediately treat it, and you know, that was kind of it.
Yep. I think he was feeling a little weird one day at work, and he noticed something abnormal going on, and he went to the doctor, and they were like, oh, Jesus Christ. And you know, the test came back. Obviously, that's the last thing you want to hear in life, that you have cancer. But yeah, they jumped right on it, and he was young enough and, you know, healthy enough where I guess the stuff they were doing kind of took pretty good. And yeah, I think he's pretty much in the clear now.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So what I know you guys did like a crowdfunding kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Who's he just squinted over there. Like, whose idea was that, and how did that come about?
It was.
And how did it
I
do?
guess
Like what was the, was there a reception to it? Did you guys get some cash out of it? How did it
so.
go?
So one of the original, I guess you could say, gripes with people on this last album, we did that. There was a funny joke in that thing where Jay was like, "Oh, Gizmachi's going to be 2012 album of the year." It was supposed to come out. We were supposed to finish 2012, and so, like I said, Jay was the engineer and producer. He did the whole thing like in his home studio, and he had to get like a new computer upgrade and all this other stuff and all this equipment to like make it sound professional or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we had to raise like $5,000 or something like that, some weird number, and we wound up doing that and a little bit extra. A lot of people jumped on board and they're really cool about it. And then the years go by, and it's like 9 years later, and everybody's like, well, "Where the hell's this album of the year 2012?" And like I said, stuff happens. Like Sean had left. Jay had a couple kids. Mike had a kid, and blah blah blah. And it was difficult because Jay lived down south, and everybody else still lived up here. So, but yeah, that crowd thing. We made a funny video for it. We thought it was funny, and I have a leaf in my hair, by the way. I had that there the whole time. The hell? Okay, sorry. Take that. Sorry. Sorry about that. And yeah, and yeah, we thought we did a cool video for it, and we got the money for it, and we recently just if you signed up for it, you got like a drumstick or a signed drum head and guitar strings, whatever. We recently just like sent all those out, 41 years later after they were supposed to. But we got to everybody that did it. Unfortunately, there was some email addresses from 2012 that aren't around anymore. So
I would imagine a good amount of them, probably.
Anybody's out there that still hasn't got their shit, email us and you'll send it to you because we still have the stuff. So
okay.
Yep.
So when were you good to go physically? When did your hand get kind of I wouldn't say back to normal, but back to able to play?
Right. It's still, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I guess you could say it's as normal as it can get now. My left arm is noticeably slower than my right one, and I have to play with what's called German grip. Like I used to play with like my thumb up like this kind of finger kind of playing with the sticks or whatever, and now I have to play completely with my palm facing the snare drum, just like up and down. Like it's called German grip or whatever. And I would say maybe 2008ish or something, I was started playing the stuff. Jay and Mike had made demos of all the songs that would become Omega Clyde, and they had a drum machine version and stuff like that, and I would like listen to it, like I'd play along to it or whatever, blah blah blah. And then eventually when they asked me like, "Hey, do you think we'll be able to do an album?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? Sure." And that was like then a year later I could kind of play all the stuff. So yeah, I'd probably say 2009, 2008, something like that. I was pretty good to go, more or less. Yep.
Yeah. No, it sounds good, man. Like I said, I mean, on all levels, your drumming included. Musically, I don't think you guys really missed a beat. And it makes sense now the more that you're telling me. And I mean, the album comes out in 2021. So
yeah.
Logically, somebody would think, okay, they've been recording it since 2018, 2019. Yeah. They mixed it and produced it 2020. The fact that it was recorded so close to, I mean, it wasn't really relatively close, but closer to when the imbuing was released. It makes sense that's why it's still on the same kind of sound.
For sure. Yeah, it was a lot of we put out a video on MySpace, I think it was, maybe when YouTube first came out, 2007 or something like that. Maybe it was a little right around there. But wow, that song Paradox, I think it's the second song.
Yeah, second song.
We had like a snippet of us in the studio recording what that song was going to be, which kind of remained unchanged in the final recording, but it was so long ago. Who the hell's calling me? Hold on a second. What happened? Sorry, phone call.
That's all right.
forgot where I was going with that. The song Paradox, whatever. We had, put out a video in 2008. That got a pretty good response. We put out a couple videos of us putting out some clips and talking about the new album. And then we lost access to the YouTube channel, still to this day, by the way. And
there's another Gizmachi out there.
There's a Gizmachi band channel, which was our old original one. And then there's another one, Gizmachi. Oh, I'm sorry. Gizmachi Music is the original one. And now Gizmachi Band is the one that we have like all the current stuff on. So it's always been something. Trust me, something weird always winds up happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, those songs are literally right after the imbuing when we had like a break, or we'd like write stuff on the road and just kind of like, write it down as ideas. It's just basically that time period from 2006 to 2008 basically is when they're from. Yep.
My favorite track is Broken Ends. So that was one of those that was recorded way back.
That was actually that riff. Mike, in the beginning of band practices, would always do like some weird guitar stuff while everybody's tuning, and he'd always play this weird like 80s kind of guitar things or whatever, and everybody would just kind of ignore him and like do whatever they're doing. And then he played that riff, and it was opening riff from Broken Ends, and I thought it was the shit. So I started playing like the stupid beat to it, and they're like, "Oh, it's pretty cool," blah blah blah. And it was almost like a joke at first, and then it became like, "Hey, there might be something to it." And that was more. Yeah, I'd say shit. That the conception of that probably 2006, something like that. When we were still rehearsing stuff like that.
Okay, yep. So in general too, I missed this back earlier. I probably should have asked it, but I'm a little bit of a musician myself. So when there's multiple people in a band, I'm always curious what the dynamic is as far as writing goes. So you have stronger egos than others. Sometimes some guys are better at doing one thing or better. Basically, how is a song for Gizmachi constructed?
So way back when, me and Jay would always joke like we were the James and Lars from Metallica of Gizmachi, where it was, Jay's like a superb guitar player, but specifically, I mean, now he's really good at solos and stuff too, but his rhythm playing is like super tight, and that's like his forte, you know what I mean? And he's like really great riff writer. And it would basically just be me and him knocking stuff around, or I'd come up with like a weird drum beat and they would put something to it, and then Mike would kind of add like the later stuff or something like that, and then Chris would kind of come in with the bass later, and then 5 years down the road someone would write lyrics to it or something like that. So but for this album specifically, it was a lot of I guess Jay and Mike kind of just together doing stuff. Like I was out of the picture at that point, you know what I mean? And kind of them doing stuff and kind of filling in the blanks, kind of thinking what I would play kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing stuff like that. But early on, it was just like, basically, I guess me and Jay mostly kind of doing that. And just, it was more me and Jay, but the whole band was involved all the time pretty much.
So you guys kind of just bring it to the table, and then there's a little trial and error, or
right.
Like, hey, let's add a little bit here, stuff like that.
For sure, yeah. And we never used like demo tapes or like recorded stuff and brought it in. It was always just live at band practice. We'd like, hey, check this out, or I'd write something down and try to play it and like explain it or whatever. And they're like, oh, this is cool. Why don't we try to do this? And it was always like, always through band practice, always just like through jamming, kind of stuff like that.
Okay, so for the show, I like to encourage the listeners to participate in any way that they can. I have a question from a fan.
All right.
His name is Chris from upstate New York, and I'm gonna ask more about this person afterwards. But his question is Bjorn a permanent member of Gizmachi, or did he just fill in for this particular album?
God, I wish. Yeah, he's just on this album. There might be something maybe happening, like I said, next year, maybe. I don't know if the chances are too good for it, because he has like, he's got Night Flight Orchestra and soil work, and he's doing, he's like a big studio guy. He sings for a lot of bands now and stuff. So I don't think that is going to happen. I pray every day that it does, but I don't think so. But like I said, next year maybe. I don't want to rule anything out, but I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this but there is possibly maybe next year.
Okay. So how do you so Soilwork in comparison to you guys, they're much more kind of and this is not a knock, but it's more your mainstream metal. And again, that's not a knock, but they're not doing crazy stuff like you guys are doing. So how do you guys come up with Bjorn to fill in? Or did he reach out to you? You reach out to him? How did that whole thing come together?
So we played Soilwork has probably been my favorite band since probably 1999, I'd say. And yeah, me and my friend Joe used to work at the movie theater in Fishkill, and we used to play Soilwork in between shows, and then until people yelled at us, we'd have to take it down. But anyway, I digress. So, I've liked it for a long time. On Ozzfest, we had the time slot. I had 2 bands before them, so I get to sit there and watch Dirk Verbeuren, who's one of the best drummers in history, every freaking day, and like see my favorite band every day. So we became cool with them and shooting the shit, and like they continued touring forever. Like whenever they come around New York, I saw them with the Chance. I saw them down in the city a couple times, and we'd always shoot the shit, like say hello and blah blah blah. And one day, I think Jay brought it up. He's like, we got to get a singer for the band or whatever. And he was joking, and he's like, hey, I wonder what Bjorn is doing. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna email him, just like on a whim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Emailed him, and he said, yeah, I'd be honored to be on the album. And we're like, holy shit, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it worked out, which is thank God. So,
yeah. He's in Soilwork, his vocals are pretty clean. And then on the album, the Omega album, he's screaming a lot more. He can there's more distortion in his voice. Whether or not he would admit it or not, I think the experience of recording on your guys' album, like it shows a lot of versatility on his end, right? Especially like Night Flight Orchestra, like clean. That's clean vocals, which is. Right. But then he goes over to you guys, which is a different sound in it. It's definitely a lot dirtier, Yeah. So his voice is just as a listener, you could say, okay, he has more range than you would expect that he would have. I think he grew doing the album with you guys.
Yeah, it was. I think everybody was pleasantly surprised with a lot of the stuff he came up with. Jay and Mike kind of had a sound they were kind of going for. So there, it wasn't like super smooth sailing, but it was, for the most part, it was like, awesome, like almost all the time. Yeah, he had to do like odd time signatures, like different things that he wasn't, particularly, I guess, used to or, adjusted to like that. So for what he did in the short period of time he had to do it, he did an amazing job. Yep.
Yeah.
And
yep, for sure.
Yep.
So, I think that wraps up the music stuff, man. I appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said, it's a great comeback. I mean, it was 16 years, and a lot of people thought that they had heard the last of you guys, but you came back. It's killer. I'm happy to hear that there might be some stuff going on in the future, But before I let it go, like I said, this show is called Headbangers at the Hangar. It's got a little bit of an alien UFO twist.
All right.
Do you have any opinions on that kind of thing? I mean, I know we've been seeing a lot of things up in the skies. The Pentagon's admitted to some stuff. What are your thoughts?
Actually, Jay from Gizmachi is huge into like UFOs and stuff like that. I remember maybe it was last year they had that weird triangle thing over Israel, like spraying stuff and doing shit. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, the black triangles.
Yeah, some wacky stuff. So it's one of those things where you kind of hope that it's something cool like that, but then at the end, then you also don't, because you're just like, what if these guys detonate like some kind of weird flesh destroying protein bomb that, blows the planet up just for fun, you know what I mean? And I have another friend, one of my best friends, Jason Ambuto. He's really into like all the architecture from like Turkey and Egypt and stuff, and how they made those things like within microns of each other with no special tools and all this other stuff. And they make convincing cases on them being, aliens and coming down and doing stuff and whatever. So like I hope that there's cool things out there, but I just hope they don't like light us on fire.
Yeah.
So
Logic would make you think that yes, they do exist, because like you're saying, like the pyramids, like
right,
maybe man did it back then without the tools that we have today. Probably not, you know. But you could say logically they should be logic. But the fact of the matter is, we still don't have anything concrete, which I think we're getting there. My theory is that, over the last couple of years, there's been a significant change in the way that the topic is spoken about in mainstream, within like certain sections of the government, where there seems to be like a little bit of a trickle is going on, where it started out like, okay, we found craft that's not of this world. And then, okay, maybe in a couple of years, they'll be like, okay, well, we found this kind of propulsion system. And then it could be like, okay, well, we found a finger, we found a leg, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then, so I think so many years will pass, right, where we're getting all this information where a person can put 2 and 2 together. So by the time they actually show a picture of like, okay, this is the alien we have in our basement from 1947. At that point, everybody will be like, okay, no shit. Like in one way or the other, you've been telling us this anyway. Whereas I think if you just drop that bomb on people, like, okay, guys, here it is. Here's the alien. What do you want to do with it? It's like, people are gonna freak out. You see how people react to things like COVID. If you just tell people without warning that there is life beyond us, we know about it. We don't know what they want. Like, people will go wild.
That's very true. And I think a lot of that is exactly what you said, where they probably know, God knows what, way more than they're saying, because they know that if they do say it, that would be the end of society, so to speak. Like, imagine if the sun wasn't really sun. It was like, oh yeah, these aliens fired a protein bomb 317,000 years ago, and in 20 years it's going to hit the earth and you can't do anything about it. Like, there's no way that anybody would be able to tell the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just go up there and be like, oh yeah, you just have to accept that, the laws or whatever you have on earth kind of apply all over the place, and that you just hope that, they're not really hiding anything. But at the same time, do you really want to know if they are? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Obama's been teasing us for a little bit. Like you can tell he knows something. He's always like giving these little hints and these little jokes. Like, come on, man. Like, But I can see why he won't say it. I thought if anyone was crazy enough to let something slip, and I'm not political, I don't want to go down a political road, but I thought if anyone was going to do it, it would be Trump.
Right.
And there was this one report which was kind of wacky. There's this Israeli something, I don't know. He was in his 90s, and he claimed that there was he knew of like this intergalactic confederation, and they had been in talks with the aliens for years, and Trump knew about it, and he was about to spill the beans, but somebody had to get in his ear and be like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do this, and he complied. I think it's bullshit, but we'll see, man. My only hope is that, like I said, I'm 31. By the time I'm about to go, when I'm 80 or 90, hopefully I know more than I do now, and I can get some kind of closure either way. That's my only hope.
Yeah, it's I guess the next couple of years should be pretty interesting. Now they got people going out to space just to pay for it. And what was that thing they were doing a couple of years ago with the Hadron Collider, where they were splitting atoms over in Norway or Switzerland or something? And then what the hell was it? Yeah, like atom collision, and they were trying to open a black hole, and who knows if they really did, and we're still living in like a parallel version of that where aliens are just like, meh, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's all neat, and then, but if you really think about it, and you ever get, when you're thinking, your brain just like stops, and you get scared, and you're like, what the hell just happened? And you know, getting to that point's a little odd, and I guess kind of scary because you don't know, like fear of the unknown, like, you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And it's all really neat stuff like that, but it I don't know. Like I said, I want to know, and I almost don't want it, because at the same time, what if all those like creatures from the 50s and whatever, the aliens with the huge heads and the little eyes, like what if they're just not really aliens, they're just people that lived near a power plant or something in the 40s, and like, oh yeah, they're not really aliens, that's just
Yeah, it could be.
yeah, you know.
I'll believe anything until well, I won't believe anything, but
Yeah.
if you can give me good evidence of something, even, no matter how far-fetched it seems, I'm willing to listen.
Yeah,
for sure. I go the other way too. I know a lot of skeptics where they don't believe it, and if you can give me some good facts to back it up,
right.
I'm down for that too. I'm all ears, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I said, it's very interesting, and hopefully the future has more answers than not answers for stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, I guess. Because yeah, not knowing, I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, like I said, I hope we don't know that. You know, hey, we got 13 years to live before the thing from Independence Day is going to park over Manhattan or something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. I really appreciate you taking time out. We're recording this on a Saturday night, you know, so I'm taking some valuable weekend time. I really appreciate you coming on. You're a high-profile guest. You're the biggest I've had so far. It's a newer show. I'm building it up, but the only way it's gonna get bigger is having guys like you come on that have been out there, they've been in the trenches, and you know, you've talked to guys in bands like Slipknot, and guys in bands like Lamb of God, and you've played with them, and I just really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Andrew.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Good night.
See you later.
See you later.